It started as a single infinitude, which then split into a universe, which then became a multiverse, filled with good, evil, triumph, and tragedy. And then came the day when a final crisis came. Worlds lived, worlds died, and the universe was never the same again. Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and welcome back to a look back at the Arrowverse. Now, when we last left off, a proposed Smallville spin-off became an original hit series, which then spun off into a full franchise. Successful enough to create other shows and even save some that were discarded by other networks. This led to yearly crossovers, where we saw the heroes of the Arrowverse thwart an alien invasion, foil Nazis, save reality, and eventually save the entire multiverse. It was an era of success and high ratings, but all good things must come to an end. And in the case of the Arrowverse, most everyone can trace the beginning of the end to the final crisis. The insanely ambitious Crisis on Infinite Earths not only set the bar so high that it could never be surpassed again, but it also marked the end of the show that started it all, Arrow. Suddenly, the question on everyone's mind was, could there be an Arrowverse without Arrow? And while the franchise did go on for another 3 years, it was apparent almost immediately that the Arrowverse was starting to lose its momentum, as the next two DC shows that were picked up by the CW were never officially declared to be part of the Arrowverse. They were what fans referred to as Arrowverse adjacent. The Star-Spangled Kid. For those of you who don't know, created by Geoff Johns and Lee Motter, Stargirl was part of DC Comics' initiative to revamp and reboot the Justice Society of America. Based on Geoff Johns' dearly departed sister Courtney Johns, Courtney Whitmore was an average teen who discovers that her stepfather, Pat Dugan, was Stripesy, the sidekick of the Golden Age hero, the Star-Spangled Kid. Courtney finds the kid's gear among Pat's belongings, and initially steals it and goes adventuring to annoy Pat, and eventually goes up against and even foils a few supervillains, such as Shiv and the Injustice Society of America. This prompts Jack Knight to present Courtney with Starman's cosmic staff, so she can carry on his legacy as Stargirl. As far as these shows go, Stargirl had the most indirect trajectory to becoming part of the franchise. Stargirl's creator, Geoff Johns, is actually more popular for being the writer of the most successful run of The Flash's comics. This led to him joining the writing team of the CW's Flash, until he left the show to be the DCEU's consulting producer. FYI, this is when many agree that The Flash started to suck. His brief stint with the DCEU led to him producing and running his own series based on his creation for Warner Brothers' brand new streaming service, DC Universe. Remember that? Remember DC Universe? It's okay, nobody does. DC Universe was a sinking ship almost from the beginning, garnering some of the lowest subscription numbers in streaming at the time, and the cancellation of the service loomed almost from the beginning. But Geoff Johns had an out, as his time with the CW's Flash earned him a good working relationship with the CW's president, Mark Pedowitz, who kept an eye on the production of Stargirl from the beginning and was very interested in the show. So he worked out a deal by which Stargirl's episodes would premiere on DC Universe and then air on the CW the next day, where it had a much better viewership. Yes, that was the power of the CW and the Arrowverse at the time. Obviously, Stargirl was not meant to be a part of the Arrowverse, as the character of Courtney Whitmore was already part of the franchise, as a grown woman from the 1940s, played by a completely different actor. However, its status was put into question once a clip from Stargirl appeared on Crisis on Infinite Earths, and John Wesley Shipp guest starred as Jay Garrick, one of the 3 roles that he played on The Flash. Like I said, Arrowverse adjacent. Some fans believe that it takes place on Earth 3, but that's also debatable. Anyway, Stargirl was a fun, whimsical show that fully embraced its comic book roots.
I'm Stargirl. And that's my sidekick.
Unfortunately, by this point, the franchise had gotten pretty bloated. They literally had a show for every day of the week. It was just too much, and something had to give. Divided we fall. Shortly after Arrow ended, it was announced that Supergirl was also coming to its end, as Melissa Benoist had decided not to renew her contract for season 7, so she could focus on starting a family. The Girl of Steel's final episode aired on March 30th, 2021, with the heroes of National City joining forces one last time to battle Lex Luthor and Princess Nixie, a conflict that culminated with the first, but not last, lesbian wedding in the Arrowverse, and Supergirl revealing her secret identity to the world.
Until next time. Peace out from your favorite Kryptonian.
And thus, after a historic 126 episode run, which is the longest of any female-led comic book-based show, Supergirl came to an end. But the joy of that satisfying conclusion would be short-lived, as we were about to say goodbye to yet another Arrowverse hero. Power outage. Right as Supergirl ended, we found out that Black Lightning had been cancelled due to declining ratings, and that season 4 would be its last. Black Lightning ended on May 24th, 2021, and while the final episode was not meant to be the series finale, it was still a good ending, as Black Lightning finally defeats his arch-nemesis Tobias Whale. Anisha Pierce, aka Thunder, has a happy lesbian wedding of her own. That's 2 for those of you who are keeping score. And Jeff and his family finally free themselves of the threat of the ASA. It might not have been the longest run, but it was a damn good one. Not bad at all for a show that wasn't supposed to go past its pilot.
It's Barry. Barry Allen. Jefferson Pierce.
But not all news was bad this year, as Legends of Tomorrow, the little show that could, achieved a milestone that many thought it never would. Legends reached its 100th episode, with a fun nostalgic mind trip in which the newer characters, Astra and Spooner, explore the memories of the Wave Rider's computer, Gideon. And we get to see who the Legends were and who they became, perfectly exemplifying how far the show had come. And just to put the sprinkles on the sundae, this historic episode was directed by the captain of the Wave Rider herself, Katie Lotz. So for those of you who are keeping score at home, that's 4 Arrowverse shows that ran for over 100 episodes. So to those people that are constantly scoffing at this massively successful franchise, they can take this particular factoid and shove it up their quiver.
Ready for some free drinks?
And by now, a year had passed since Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it was once again time for the yearly crossover. This one being the first without Green Arrow. Armageddon. Yeah, it sucked. It was really bad. How bad was it? The biggest highlight of this crossover event was the Flash finally getting his yellow boots. I can't make that up. You know what? Let's talk about the final Arrowverse adjacent show. The Man of Tomorrow. For those of you who should seriously be returning your geek cards, Kal-El was the only survivor of the doomed planet Krypton, making it safely to Earth on an escape rocket. He is found and adopted by Jonathan and Martha Kent, who rechristen him Clark Kent. Many years later, discovering that Earth's yellow sun gives him incredible superhuman powers, Clark dedicates his life to fighting for truth and justice as the world's greatest hero, Superman, the very foundation of the entire comic book superhero genre. Interestingly enough, Superman and Lois was the complete opposite of Stargirl, in that it was supposed to be part of the Arrowverse and then suddenly, it wasn't. As I established before, Superman and Lois was established as a backdoor pilot during the Elseworlds crossover, back in 2018, but wouldn't actually premiere as a series for another 3 years. And by the time it did, the landscape of the Arrowverse had changed dramatically, and it really looked like the franchise was getting closer and closer to its end. So in order to ensure the longevity of Superman and Lois, they decided for it to take place in its own universe. But in the case of this show, it is even more confusing than Stargirl. as not only did Tyler Hoechlin and Bitsy Tulloch reprise their roles from the Arrowverse, but so did David Ramsey and Jenna Dewan. All the while, other major players were completely recasted. So yeah, Arrowverse adjacent. Superman and Lois premiered February 23, 2021, to both good ratings and good reviews, as the series provided a fresh new take on the Superman mythos, seeing Lois and Clark move back to Smallville to raise their twin sons, in a world that is constantly under otherworldly threats. As I am recording this, the future of Superman and Lois is very much in question, as the budget for the upcoming Season 4 has been cut in half, and its premiere keeps getting pushed further back because of the writer's strike, so only time will tell if the Man of Steel will fly again. And thus, we arrive at the darkest year of the Arrowverse. Nightfall. On March 2nd, 2022, the final episodes of both Legends of Tomorrow and Batwoman aired. Unfortunately, we didn't know that at the time, as the CW wouldn't officially announce that they were not picking up either show for future seasons until a few months later. While the news was bittersweet for both shows, in the case of Legends, in spite of going out on a cliffhanger, the fact of the matter was that this show was not supposed to go past one season, let alone 110 episodes, 7 seasons, 3 crossovers, and 1 lesbian wedding for those of you who are keeping score. So yeah, it may not have a definitive ending, but there was no shame in going out the way they did, which was very much in the spirit of the show, defiant to the end. Sadly, the same cannot be said for Batwoman. As I established before, Ruby Rose left the show for controversial reasons, and while the creators did find a good replacement in Javicia Leslie, the show never recovered and was plagued by declining ratings and bad reviews for the rest of its existence. Batwoman got so bad that many started to joke that it was in competition with The Flash as to who could produce the worst episode, and in my humble opinion, they were tied. The difference was that Batwoman never had the faithful viewership that The Flash had, so after 3 seasons, it was abruptly cancelled.
So Flash, never been to Central City? Is it always this crazy?
Well, it's a Wednesday.
And if the 2 sudden cancellations weren't enough, October 10th, 2022 was the 10th anniversary of the Arrowverse, and the CW did absolutely nothing to commemorate it, which was the most appropriate end for the crummiest year in the history of the franchise, which left only 1 show standing where there were once 6. But thankfully, the franchise would get 1 more chance to redeem itself, and I'm happy to report that it didn't waste it. One last run. And thus, we learned that Season 9 of The Flash would be its last, and the end of the Arrowverse, as Grant Gustin decided not to renew his contract for a 10th season, and end the show after 13 more episodes. And I'm so relieved to say that after 4 hilariously bad seasons and 1 divisive one, that Season 9 was actually decent. While there might be better seasons throughout the franchise, Season 9 was a vast improvement to what we had seen from the show for the past few years, as the producers opted to tear a page from Arrow's playbook, and dedicated the final season to play the show's greatest hits, give in to a little fan service, and deliver on a lot of promises that they had been making for years, like the Rogues War, Red Death, and the moment that we've been waiting for since the first episode of the show, which is when Barry travels back in time to face Eobard Thawne on the night that he murders Barry's mother, therefore setting the events of the show in motion. But it truly wouldn't be a complete tribute to the legacy of this franchise without The Brave and the Bold. For the 9th episode of Season 9, the multiverse is under threat by the villainous Bloodwork, who enslaves Team Flash and even kills Barry. But thankfully, the Scarlet Speedster has a friend on the other side.
Add it to the list.
Wait, you came back too?
It's just temporary. I can only intervene when the multiverse is in danger.
Hell yeah. Stephen Amell donned the Green Hood one more time, and the Flash and Green Arrow teamed up one last time in one final, glorious, beautiful moment to save the multiverse.
Oliver, we got your clear shot. You have failed this city.
But alas, all good things must come to an end. The Flash ended on May 17, 2023, with one final epic showdown between the Flash and his allies, and Cobalt Blue and a team of the most evil speedsters the fastest man alive has ever faced. And while it wasn't perfect, it was still a worthy end to what started out as a great series.
A world where nothing has to be impossible. As long as we believe in it.
And just like that, the Arrowverse was no more. It was a grand era of comic book adaptations, one that kept getting bigger and more epic with every passing year. It was never as good as the DCAU or as popular as the MCU, but it was a great tribute to the characters and stories that we love. And for a while there, it was awesome to be a DC fan.
That bolt of lightning chose you. Don't ever forget it.
And so this look back has come to an end. And while this universe concluded, it's only a matter of time before another one takes its place. And personally, I hope to see you there. Until next time, I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.